Hello? Hello? Oops, there we go. Hello? Hello? Welcome to Exennial Geek Podcast. My name is JC, and today we're going to go over, like last time we went over the Superman legacy in the Cinemax universe. Today we're going to go over the Batman legacy in the Cinemax universe. So let's start with, so last time we went over, who is the best right off the bat. Let's first start. Out of all the Batman movies that were around, that we all watched, I can guarantee we did, you had Batman, the first one, Batman Returns. Then you had a gap between the Batmans, and then in the 2000s there was Batman Forever, and then Batman and Robin, and then you had the Dark Knight Dark Knight trilogy, which, in my opinion, Dark Knight, the second one in the Dark Knight trilogy, was one of the best, and I loved the Joker in that one. No offense to the guy who played Batman or the Joker in the first one, and also later on in the DC universe with Man of Steel and stuff. I still call Joker in the Dark Knight movie the best, according to me. Everybody has their opinion. If you want to, drop a comment of what your favorite Joker is, and if you want to put your favorite Batman. After Dark Knight, then they had the Superman versus Batman and Justice League. Now, I did like the Man of Steel universe and stuff, and Superman versus Batman was really good. I liked it. But when it came to Batman, he was pretty good. I'd almost call him second, or third, actually, third. To me, because most people, all of us probably, all believe that Batman Forever and Batman and Robin really weren't that good. Now, I loved the villains that they put into it, not really the actors of the villains or how they played the whole thing, but I wish those villains would be in other ones because they're good villains in the comics. I don't mind that. So that was those are the worst. I don't even rank them. I did not think the way they did Gotham was so in Batman, the first one, and don't forget the Batman that just came out not too long ago. But Batman in the 80s, the original Batman, first Cinemax one, you could kind of tell that his town was more realistic. Wow, this could be a real place. Where in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, it just looked way too not even close to real. Because that's exactly one of the reasons why the Dark Knight trilogy was so popular. Is because it looked wow, this could be real. There could be a real Batman. And that's why when it comes to my ranking, the Batman is third, and that's just because it was pretty good. I liked it, and it was real. It made you kind of feel real. But then I'm gonna give him some slack. But the guy who played Batman was the Twilight dude, and no offense, but he's got a reputation for Twilight. No offense. I don't think he's ever gonna get rid of this Twilight shit. And no offense, if you like Twilight, that's fine. But I thought it was kind of, I don't know. I just didn't think it was that good for vampires and stuff and werewolves. I didn't like the way they did those. But yeah, so he played in the Batman as Batman. And so I'll give him some slack because he just started, and that movie was not bad. It wasn't bad. It was pretty good, and it's new. And as far as I understand, there's supposed to be the Batman 2, which takes off right after first movie. So that'll be interesting. I can't wait to see what that is. But back to the list. So for me, out of the different Batmans, third one would be the Batman. Second one would be the Dark Knight, and first one would be Bat, the original one that came out in the 80s. The reason I say that is because the one in the 80s was like the first one that ever came out, so that gives it extra credit because it was the first. And then I just loved how they played Joker and the way it ended with him falling off the tower and like Batman saving the lady and just all this stuff was magnificent, especially for the 80s. And then you had Batman Returns, which was following that with Penguin. And I literally loved that one, especially who played the Penguin, how it ended, even with the Catwoman ending and the whole Catwoman ending. I still thought those two are probably the best in my opinion. And then you have the Dark Knight. That's number 2, and it's a real fight between the Batman in the 80s and the Dark Knight, because I know Batman Begins was a little here and there. I'm not gonna lie, but Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, the last two, were magnificent. I loved them to death. And in those, like I said before, you had Batman, which kind of gave you the atmosphere of possibly real, or this isn't completely out of the world that we live in. And then the Dark Knight, that whole trilogy was like, it was here, it was real. There could have been a real Batman because of the way they used the technology and how it was right there in the city. And it was a real city. It wasn't some made-up city where like you could see the difference between that city and reality. Where in the Dark Knight, you did not see a difference. That city looked just as real as like New York or Chicago, LA, all that. So it was amazing that they did that. And I loved the things that Batman could use as his tools and like his vehicle that crushed everything, and that was amazing. And then his bike in the Dark Knight, the one he used there against the Joker, that was all cool as fuck. But as it goes, so right now you have the Batman, which has a second one coming, but that's not in the same universe as the new Superman. And I've heard they're not making a Batman yet. They're going to have a Supergirl, and I think, I can't remember what the next one is, but Supergirl and then something else. And then possibly a year later or something, Batman in that universe. Which I think will be cool because, you can't have Superman without Batman. And no offense to the whole Man of Steel, it was very good. It was dark. I loved it. The whole universe was so drama instead of just your comic characters. It felt so dramatic and stuff. And you don't usually get that with superhero movies, like at all. You don't get it in that universe as much. The Batman, the first one, kind of had that, but Man of Steel, Superman versus Batman, and Justice League were very in that world. And Superman versus Batman, the first one that had Batman really in the movie, I thought was really good. I liked it. The way it ended, like, I personally could have thought there was a better way to end it. Like, the main villain that killed Batman, or Superman in that movie, I felt should have been in his own movie. And then, like, that one could have had someone else. Because he's really dramatic. He's a big villain killing Superman. And it was kind of like Superman versus Batman along with this guy. Well, you already have Superman. It's called Superman versus Batman. You should kind of, I felt, had it more surrounded by them. No matter what, though, again, and the way, like I said in the first podcast with the universe, and this is the cinematic universe. Now Paramount is getting bought by some company, and then they're, as far as I understand, in the plan to buy DC Universe or the Warner Brothers whole studio and so on. Even their video games and stuff. They're buying the whole thing. So you have DC Universe, you have CNN, and a couple other TV shows, along with news stuff, along with all their video game stuff. So all their stuff about the DC Universe will be in that. So, like, the whole, what was that? There was a video game about the villains. I can't think of it. Quote me, don't quote me. Whatever. All those games, like they had just had the 3 Batman movie or game where it's all of the Robins after Batman was killed. I just got that. I think that'll be cool. I want to play it, see how it goes. And then you had Suicide Squad. That's what I was talking about. Suicide Squad. They had the game of that. I thought that was pretty cool. I haven't gotten it yet, but all the reviews and stuff I've seen about it kind of make me want to buy it still. And then, with that you had just the Batman games. I've got all 3 of those. I'm still playing them, but love them. They're great. You can tell the difference on when they were PC 4 to PC 5 and how far back on PC 4 they were, or PSI. PS4, sorry, I'm saying this shit wrong. So as PS4 was originally where the Batman, all that video game started, and then they transferred some of that over to the PS5, which now is better graphics and stuff like that, but you can tell the difference between when it was PS4 and PS5. No matter what, cool. But yeah, so with Paramount Plus buying, or it's Paramount, not Plus, that's their service, but Paramount possibly buying Warner Brothers, there could be, like, they might want to have, because I do know there's been talk about, like, maybe Netflix buying the Cinemax stuff, all the movies and TV shows from Warner Brothers, but I keep hearing that it's, from what I understand, it's more likely going to be Paramount buying it. No matter what, I think Paramount's going to buy it. And obviously, they're going to have their stuff on their Paramount Plus, and then they're going to make their own movies. But with the way Warner Brothers did it with DC in their last whole legacy, or their whole thing with Man of Steel, hiring the people that did it, they kind of did it stupid, because unlike the Marvel Universe, they didn't have it set so, like, these guys would do blah, 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 many movies, and that was just it, and then they'd redo their contract and add more so they could do more and more movies. They had it where, like, we're going to really look and see if this movie's going to work. And then, let's really, they didn't try and plan ahead. They kept going, okay, maybe, they just decided on every movie individually. They didn't try to set up, like, a set of movies instead of just one. And that's the difference of the Marvel and DC. Marvel had it like where their contracts were set, bam, bam, bam. You have to make this many movies of your character, and you have to be in this other couple movies with your character. And then as they got more popular and all that stuff, then, like, contracts went up, and because Marvel was making all this money from the first movies, they had, like, almost no problem adding to these actors' salary and stuff or whatever, so it went up. And it just made it so they stayed. Where in DC it was like, this movie, and then maybe we'll do, and so they never gave it like, you're just going to do these movies, and so, you get this much, you can go up, but, like, you got to do this many. It was all one, and that made it easier for the actors to go, well, second movie, I want way more. Third movie, I want way more than the first. And so then it was like price was way too high. So if they had set it up that the first 3 movies, which were Man of Steel, Superman versus Batman, and Justice League, all of those with possible bonus in Justice League, whatever, but 3 movies, if they had set it up where, yeah, we're going to do the 3 movies, it would have been a better contract in the first place, and it would have been able to finish. And then possibly if they finished right, then they could have set more up. And I know there's other reasons why that whole thing fell apart at the end with, who set it together and all this other shit. But I think personally it was the contracts. And so now with the new Superman, I think they're going to still kick in another Batman in the future, along with the Batman. So it'd be 2 Batmans in 2 different universes. And I don't know how they would fit all that together. I don't think they're going to have it as complicated as Warner Brothers or as Marvel. No offense to Marvel, but this multi-universe, like I keep seeing these movies and like half the time I don't understand how this movie is related to this movie. And I'm getting the idea from the news I'm getting that, and this is not DC and Batman, so excuse me. But I'm seeing how that might all fit into one with this Doomsday, or Doom, which is Doctor Doom. But, so that's that. But with Batman, I'm really hoping they have the Batman, and then they add something to the new Superman universe. And that'll go great with, like, Supergirl and all the other ones they're going to add to that. Because I would love, like, a big, like, just as big as the Marvel. I want a DC as big as the Marvel universe and is, like, set up as the Marvel universe. Because I don't want it where, like, after blah, 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 many movies, it just completely falls apart and then it starts all over again. Like, I know the Marvel universe is going to go to a certain point, and then because of expenses and all this stuff, and it's a new generation looking into it instead of our generation, which last podcast I pointed out, last episode, we're getting old, even though we're in our 40s, which is the prime sales generation. For, our parents got their music, all that stuff when they were around 40. That's why nowadays you see everything from our childhood and younger years as the whole sales stuff on TV. Like not too long ago, I think a couple years ago, they had Walmart did a thing for drive-in that had to do with they had Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Transformers, Scooby-Doo, a whole bunch of other ones added as their vehicles came in, get their stuff, like, oh yeah, you can get your stuff right here, they'll bring it to you. But they had it so it was all the things from our childhood. And that's how they do it. But right now, you're starting to have kids, and that's what we were when this stuff came out. And this is kind of what they're trying to do, is so they're making it so some of this stuff starts all over again in a couple of years, and then you have a beginning again. And then you're going to have the kids that are teenagers who, by the time this gets through, they're going to be the ones that want to buy stuff. And then they'll have this same situation where that stuff's going to go there. And you're talking about studios. No matter how much we think it should be the same universe and same actors, it never will be. And they will start it all over again, over and over again, until there's no way to, possibly, as long as they're a company that can do it, every couple of decades or so, they're going to restart it for prices of actors. And Marvel's doing it for cost of movies. They're cutting back the cost of the movies with actors and the way they make them, so it's not as expensive as the last group of them. And they're going to start all over again. And I can see if Warner Brothers gets it right with this new Cinemax that they're trying to make, with the new Superman and, Supergirl and so on, I can see them going so far into it if they can, and then starting over again when it's like a new generation and all this stuff that's kind of going to be into that, and then they can sell more when they're older, just like us. So, to conclude, the best one, well, let's go up. So, worst two, obviously, out of the Batman movies are Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. No offense, I already told why, but I don't like how they made the world. I don't like, no offense to the actors, but I don't think they did a really good job being the Batman and Robin stuff. Like, and then, even if you just erase that stuff, the third one out of the list is going to be The Batman. Because it was pretty good. No offense. It was, even if it was the Twilight dude, it was still pretty good. I liked it. And they're going to make the second one, so thumbs up. I'll watch it. And then if you go to that list, number 2, like I said, is the Dark Knight trilogy. Now, it's a real debate on, characters who are best compared to the first Batman movies. But in my opinion, that trilogy still fits as the second best. And then obviously, like I've said, the first and best things of Batman were Batman and Batman Returns from the 80s and 90s. Those two movies, I think, were magnificent. And they were the first Batmans on, Cinemax. Back in the 80s, if you're in a small town, you got made fun of for liking this stuff. But these movies made millions of dollars. So they were popular, and that's when, I put it in my podcast, I think, last time. But from the 80s and beyond, it's been the geek trilogy, or geek era. Because you've gone from all kinds of science fiction from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, and now the 2020s. And I think, personally, until a generation gives up on, science fiction, which I don't see that happen. I see more people getting into science fiction than before, which I think is amazing. Same with more people getting into certain universes of comics. Now, I know printed, who knows how long that's going to go, whatever. Personally, I still think with books, you have printed and ebooks, and audiobooks. I think those things are going to stay around for eternity. Now, which ones make more money and which ones, that stuff, that's going to go back and forth, and who knows. But books, I think, will stay forever. And just to point out, you don't have to care, but right now, last year, the book Batman, I can't remember what they called it under that, but there was a book, Batman, and I thought it was amazing. So if you like Batman and you like novels, Google or Amazon Batman and something, or just put the year, which would be last year, 2024. And Google or Amazon will bring it up, and you have to look a little bit, because right now, coming out in just a couple of days, it'll be October 21st, I think it is, you will have another Batman set in that world. Now, the key thing that I think is the coolest about this whole new thing, books about Batman, is this set of novels, and I don't know how far it's going to go, but is set in the original Batman world. So the Batman movie from the 80s, that's the world this is set in. And it starts, the first novel starts right after the Batman movie. So it's got a lot in it referring to the Batman movie and their characters and all that stuff. And then it adds things to it. And the next one, again, is still in the Batman universe of the original Batman movie. And I think it's got, one of the key things I think it's got in, and there was a reference to this character in the first book. If you read the book, you'll notice it. But I think the next, because they have a question mark right on the cover. So obviously, it's got to do with the Riddler. Otherwise, I don't know why they'd have a question mark. But I still, like, I'm going to read it. I have no clue how it's going to go with the Riddler. But the first one was amazing, so obviously I'm going to read the second one. So if you are a Batman, like, fanatic, and you read, not just watch, get the Batman, or the first Batman of this trilogy, which I can't remember the full name, published in 2024. Great, read it, and then you will be able to get to the next Batman, which comes out October 21st, I think, this year. So, out of all this, if you like Batman, watch Batman, Batman Returns, those are the best, and then watch the Dark Knight trilogy. Because those things, the first one and the first two, and then the trilogy, I swear to God, are the best comic book movies I've seen almost in my entire life. No offense to Superman and all his movies, but I have found that those 5 movies, the first 2 and the trilogy, are the best comic book movies I have ever seen. So, thank you. Thanks for listening about Batman and the Batman universe. Next time, I think I'm going to go over Marvel and some of its ups and downs in movies, like which ones have been okay and why and stuff of certain movies. But thank you, and just to let you know, if you like dystopian, like science fiction and maybe some post-apocalypse stuff, I would love it if you would check out my novel, Rift of Redemption. You can find it on Amazon, Walmart, all kinds of places. You can find it everywhere. Walmart, Amazon, Target, all that stuff, everywhere. And if you like ebooks, it's on Apple, Google, obviously Amazon, and a whole bunch of others. So if you can, check out Rift of Redemption. Love it to hear what you think of it. So always put a review in, or I have a newsletter if you want that. Sign up for it. And I have all kinds of stuff about geek stuff. So whatever, listen to it. It's good. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.